When she spoon and like a BB moment, which is like a beautiful black moment. Did we get any of those in this episode?
Black.
We have a chaotic vibe moment of the
chaotic vibe moment. And you're watching Black by Reality.
Black by Baddies.
And those who love us.
Welcome to the Black by Reality podcast, a podcast for Black by Baddies and those who love us. I'm your host, Nicole Weaver, entertainment reporter, currently writing about reality TV for Collider. And I am joined here with Chappell of RHAP, Kickback, and RHAP podcast. Hi, Chappell.
Hey, Nicole, thank you for having me. I'm very excited because you and I have been trying to get this recap on the books for weeks. We talk about, okay, which week do you want to come on? Probably surprised to nobody, or just maybe surprised to your listeners that I have a really strong connection to some of the cast of this season of Survivor. And so I wanted to pick a good, we'll talk, but I wanted to pick a good week. And then the first part of the season, the pre-merge has been so wild that I'm very happy that just by happenstance, we landed on this episode in particular. So I'm very excited to get into it with you.
I'm excited too. We are talking about episode 6. And if you remember at episode 5, at the end of that, we had another person leave on Gada. And Annika, she had such an emotional exit. To be fair, she wasn't getting along with Sam, and he was very smug about the situation. And Andy is also riding high at the beginning of this episode. How do you feel about Andy?
Okay, so I know baby Andy in real life. We've met several times. He's a very nice fellow. And I knew he was a fan of, Survivor, a really big fan. And so I was interested to see how he does on the show. But he's so nice that I didn't know if he would have the teeth for a Survivor. It gets kind of cutthroat. And in those early days, I wasn't sure that he did. But seeing the Annika blindside and then seeing his reaction to the Annika blindside throughout this episode, I think baby Andy is finally starting to get comfortable in the game a little bit. And very interested to see what happens next.
Our chaotic bi is... He's evolved like a butterfly.
Yeah. So my theory with baby Andy is that because he's been put at the bottom of his tribe so many times, with even his challenge performance, whether it's the goofy stuff that he's done at camp or whatever, he knows where he stands in the tribe. And I think in Survivor, it's so hard to know that because everyone's telling you, you're my number 1, you're my number 2. And no one's ever telling you you're at the bottom. But he gets this reinforcement every episode. So he goes into every tribal council or every situation knowing these people are lying to me because I'm at the bottom, or this person being honest with me because I'm at the bottom. So to have this moment with Annika, he's for the first time it proved that he was no longer at the bottom. Annika's gone. And now he's in an alliance with Sam and Sierra right before the merge, leaving poor Rachel out to dry. So yeah, maybe Andy's coming into his own.
Poor Rachel started this game with this anxious bisexual waking her up at night saying, let's go to the beach. And she's like, let's not. This is very suspicious. And he's just spilling his guts out to her. And I wonder when Annika was voted out, she'd be like, over him?
Right. Like, man, it's hard to be an ally sometimes.
It's hard to be an ally sometimes, but it's always going to be bisexual. Let's get to the Murgatory. Now, we're at Murgatory. Sue is still cleaning off this idol. Sue, this should have been taken care of already.
Also, why does she care what the idol looks like? Like, well, she says the idol is covered in paint, and we got to clean it off in case they check my bag. But ma'am, so you just gonna show them the idol? And they're like, in my mind, I don't care if the idol is dipped in blood, painted red, blue, green. No one's gonna ever see it. You never hide it in your backpack and your purse, wherever you gotta hide it. But the idea that, man, they might find out of an idol and they're gonna see that it's red. Bro, once they saw the idol, what was you gonna do?
I don't know. I guess if it dried, it's not a problem. I guess when she said it, I was like, oh, it's probably still wet. That makes sense. You're gonna put blood everywhere. But it's like, no, it was probably dry by then. But everyone's getting the news. We are merging. We get onto this beach. Everyone's so excited. I'm so happy for all of them. But then we have a scramble, or they wanted a scramble. These people were like, look, not today.
Yeah.
Not today.
Well, if they've been watching the new era, we all know they have to earn the merge now, right? And so if they're like, okay, this is an advantage in a challenge, yeah, I can find it, I can look for it, but I ain't gonna spend all day. This is essentially the merge. There's no difference between this merge episode and anything that happened prior to season 40. This is a merge. So you should be trying to make connections with everybody else because that advantage might help you win the challenge. But if it doesn't, you're still out. You need the numbers. So we saw a lot of people give up very quickly.
Yes, we did. And also making really bad mistakes because Miss Genevieve, I'm gonna say her name just like that. Miss Genevieve was the kingpin on lava. Like, don't forget. And she is over it. She is grumbling, just a curmudgeon. And her and Sam are like, what's that buoy out there? And Sam, I'm telling you, I keep saying it. Sam gets a dodo edit, or maybe it's my perspective of Sam, to be fair. Because I'm like, I think everyone is outplaying him, but he is just a physical beast. But she's like, is that something? Sam's like, it's nothing. Why are you so confident, Sam?
Nicole, to have the confidence of a straight white man, it's like nothing in this world can be incorrect for them. It's just, you shouldn't cut the rope like that. I'm gonna just hack away at it. Nope. You should just do like that's Sam. That is Sam, and it's not his fault. That's just this. What I'm not gonna say he has not had his own struggles. We all have our lives and our things that we have to battle and our obstacles. But again, Genevieve being like, why don't I think outside the box? And Sam be like, no, there's no reason to think about that.
He's a person who's like work harder than smarter sometimes. And Miss Genevieve was just like, I don't think it's in that freaking jungle. I'm gonna go out, but I'm gonna complain about it. And if there's nothing out there, and of course she gets it, and everyone else is like, cool. Oh, but that means this paint, these broken like shards then are not the advantage. And Caroline, who I think is equal to Genevieve right now, just of everything that we're seeing, she's like, oh, shout out to my girl Sue.
Yeah, I love Caroline. I do. I love, to be clear, I love Sam as well, but I do love Caroline. I like that when she realizes that Sue, obviously they saw the paint all over Sue. Sue told this awful lie about biting the back of her tongue, and somehow the blood got in her hair, on her feet, on her hands, all over the well as well, just because she bit the back of her tongue. Fine. But Caroline is able to look back and say, yeah, she probably found an idol, and I'm proud of her because she's playing the game. Sue is not the best liar. We saw her try to pass off being 45 in this episode to Saul, and he just kind of said, oh, okay. But, when Caroline goes to Sue, she's like, hey, I know you. Your secret's safe with me. And Sue goes, what secret? Ma'am.
But good.
Okay.
I do want, she's playing hard, okay? She's like, you're gonna have to really work hard out of this. But then I got sad because she was like, well, I don't want Tiana to know.
Yeah.
Play with Tiana.
Yeah, Sue. Play with Tiana. Listen, Tiana is not a perfect player either. None of these people are. She had her downside last week when she decided to throw Gabe under the bus with all her might. And that seemingly has rubbed Sue the wrong way. Sue's like, I can't trust her because of what she did. Now, Tiana, that was such a curious choice to do that in front of everybody.
Why is Sue so hinged to Gabe, though? It's so obvious that Gabe is more on the bottom, I think, than like her. And she's treating it like he's her shield, but she's obviously playing ahead of him. Like, maybe I'm underestimating a lot of these men, but that's my perspective.
I think it's a valid perspective because we saw so much of Gabe being like socially separate from the tribe because of all the idol hunting he was doing at first. But since then, it does feel like Gabe, Sue, Caroline are like the big three on that tribe. Tiana lost TK, but that was mostly her doing because her and TK they didn't mesh well. TK talked a whole lot of trash and then fell victim to that. But Tiana in this episode says Kyle is her number one ally. If Kyle's her number one, then that means Gabe is a part of that other three. And so it feels like Tiana and Kyle are at the bottom if you're just looking at just the numbers.
We drew a hard line.
Yeah. When she says Kyle is her number one, I'm also thinking, Tiana, you got to find another number one. No disrespect to Kyle, but
Kyle did some stuff here.
He's good, but I just think you need more numbers. Like you came away from your pre-merge tribe with one ally, basically. You can't count on Gabe. You cannot, because you threw him under the bus. So you can't count on Gabe. You can't count on Caroline because she made you apologize to Gabe. So who do you have if you don't have Gabe, Sue, and Caroline? You just have Kyle. And that's why I'm like, I need her to get more socially ingrained with the rest of the people now that we've made the merge.
Okay. I think I still want to put a little more faith into the Caroline and Tiana connection, but then again, that's just Caroline being so good at what she does, because she's like,
so
I want
good.
all of us to be together at the merge, and then they're falling apart. Oh my goodness.
She made that woman apologize. She
Yeah.
told her, like, you need to go tell Gabe or I will. And that's why I was like, it's feeling like Gabe does have Sue and Caroline. And I just, for me, I love Tiana. I just want her to have more allies. So go get them. Yeah. You know, like, now is the time. Hit the ground running. You cannot just count on Kyle. Kyle doesn't even have a vote. So you really need to have more numbers at this point.
Well, we'll talk later about Tiana, because I think there is some hope with connections. It was just subtle because we didn't get to see the schoolyard pick, but we'll talk about it. Now, another thing that happens is that Rome, Kyle, because Kyle is trying to get more allies, and this bit him in the butt talking to Rome at night. He named Sam as the biggest threat. Not shocking. Then Rome asked, and he asked specifically if Tiana has a good chance, even though he claims later he asked which woman has a good chance. You were targeting Tiana with that question. And yeah, Kyle is her ally. So he's like, yeah, she has a great chance, but that doesn't mean I'm saying that to target her.
Right. The things Kyle said were all true, but they weren't said in a way to use in the game. So it's like Kyle felt like he was making a friend, you know, like, hey, we're sitting here under the stars or in Fiji playing Survivor. What do you think about the game? Oh yeah, I think this person's good. I think this person's good. I think this person's probably a threat. But it wasn't like, so thus we need to do something about it. It was more like, this is just how I'm envisioning the game. I think Caroline and Sue have a mother-daughter relationship, but they're not that great at challenges. These are literally just statements. Rome took it as ammo, and then decides that he's going to run that back to the rest of the tribe.
That's true. And oh my gosh, I love Saul. Saul is just, he gets to work. The minute he hears that Rome's up to some mess, he tells Tiana and Andy that Rome tends to lie. I said that I think Rome is usually telling the truth, unfortunately. It's just he's not how he's using it. But this time, he absolutely flubbed some things. Kyle, I love angry Kyle.
Yeah.
I love it because these are all, he said he was feeling froggy.
Yeah. I was like, oh, then leap. You know, like, what we about to do? You feeling froggy? You ain't got no vote. What's about to happen? You know?
He calls him, I wrote an eggplant. You can imagine what that is. He says, F-Ro.
He comes straight with his whole chest.
But how he then says it, because everyone's almost there. He has a great audience, including Sue. He's like, I might be a dumbass, but like, I'm not this. And Sue's just nodding like, yeah, you are.
Yeah. Which is incredible for Kyle. Kyle comes at this from a perspective of, I'm so dumb, but I'm also very honest. These are two reasons why you should trust me and take me further into the game. Like, and I don't believe that for a second. I definitely believe, because Kyle is acting like he didn't say any of this stuff, which is not the case. He said it. He just, the intention was not there the way Rome is painting it. So he's coming in like, no, I only said y'all were like a mother and daughter. That's all I said. It's like, no, you did say they were bad at challenges. That again, wasn't to put a threat on their back, but he's not anti-lying. Yeah.
The way Sue shuts that up later, I was like, go ahead, Sue. Go ahead.
Exactly. And so that's why I'm like, I like Kyle, because it's such a covert way of being like, I am inoffensive. I'm not a threat. You know, I'm not a threat. I would never lie like this. Y'all know my character. It's gotta be this crazy man, Rome. And then you guys saw and Teeny and Genevieve, who've all lived with him, being like, I mean, it does sound like something Rome would do. So good move on Kyle's part.
Good move. Now we have a challenge, because we're not merged. We need a schoolyard pick, though, for two teams. Now, according to Teeny on Twitter, Teeny was a captain and picked Sam, Kyle. I'm sure they were the first round picks.
They were.
Then we have Rachel and Sue as last. On blue, Tiana was the leader, which I'm like, maybe she makes some headways with connections with that. She has Rome, Caroline, Andy, Gabe, and Saul. I feel like these are pretty fair teams. What do you think?
Yeah, so she picked Gabe first.
Yeah.
Then she picked Saul, I believe.
Mhm.
Then Caroline, then Rome, then Andy was last. And so yeah, I think the
Yeah.
teams are really balanced, but this does go to show you who's at the bottom of the pecking order, at least challenge-wise, when it comes to the picking the schoolyard pick, right? Again,
Mhm.
Andy finding himself at the bottom again, essentially. And that's again, this is not to say that Andy doesn't deserve that, right? We saw Andy trying to cut a rope with the not sharp side of the knife.
He's not great at challenges.
He's not great at challenges, so I'm not shocked here. But I think this is a pretty good, a good team for both sides. It's just a matter of who's going to pull it off.
Exactly. And I guess this also still shows that Tiana trusts Caroline because that's from her original. And Gabe, I mean, yeah, these are pretty good picks. Now we go through this. They are gotta get muddy, gotta go through wood chippers. I would be pissed.
I would be so mad. My hair.
Then they have to go up this ramp. I said Gabe is like the MVP for the blue team on that ramp.
Mhm.
When he went like, all right, come on, and he just pushes her the rest of the up. I was like, okay, Gabe,
Yeah.
I see you.
The idea that they could use the bags to get up there was cool too, but Gabe could just jump up there. So he did it twice, and then he's like hanging down to save them. This was one of those team building moments. You know, everybody makes it up. I think the Yellow Tribe is like behind at first, but it was a pretty close race.
Yeah, it was. And then we get to this. Why is Rome at the end again? Is he insisting on this just to piss off Saul?
You know, that's probably a good point because I don't know how they decide who gets to pick it, but we've seen in the past Rome being like, it needs to be me. I need to be the one to do this. And we saw how well that went in certain puzzles where he gets 0 pieces, but we've also seen him, you know, be successful. But to Saul is over it. So I was like, I don't know why Saul let Rome be in this position. Is Saul just being like, I'll let you bury yourself? Or is it just Rome's willpower is just that strong?
I think Rome can just be that persistent. And like Saul has talked about, I have never meditated more in my life. This man is holding back. I hope all the stress that built up in his body did not lead to anything more than just temporary stress, because having to hold so much anger in, his whole thing is usually, I'm just going to let him have it. Because honestly, he's the bigger dude in this situation.
Yeah.
Like, he would be the bad guy if he tried to like overpower Rome in some way. So he's usually like, okay, you can have it, Rome. But then Rome, once again, I was so scared because they almost had it. And I was like, I don't want Rome to feel like he was ever right when Saul interrupts and is like, can we switch? Jeff said no.
Yeah. You can't just switch in the middle of this. Yeah, you can't switch in the middle of this. I went this long without saying her name, but and I'm gonna keep going. But yeah, again, it's really hard for me to root for that side just based on, you know, my relationship with the Lavo tribe thus far. And so I was really like, Saul, if you gotta lose this one, you gotta lose this one. And so luckily the yellow side goes ahead and takes the victory.
So happy. I was so relieved. I did not need him to feel right about anything in that scenario. Gabe also was like, I got it, which is like kind of nice if we got another older brother figure or something to try and balance out Rome's energy. But also it's like, oh my God. So he loses this. We have to move on to now only the yellow doing immunity, plus Miss Genevieve are doing this classic. And Sue outlasted all but our boy Kyle. Bad at challenges. Who?
No, Sue was killing it. Sue and Kyle both. I was very shocked that Genevieve didn't, you know, the advantage didn't help her that much. I think the advantage is just being able to get to this point, though. You know,
Yes,
I think the theory is that they're all gonna be tired and muddy or whatever, but you know, either you got it or you don't when it comes to these like core strength and balance challenges. And Kyle and Sue, they cooked. And so Kyle gets the first individual immunity of the season. And that's when like, this is just a merge, right? Like what we call is Murgatory, but it's just a merge.
Look, Jeff has been taking hits this episode. Hits. They said, What was the first one I feel like we talked about that was like kind of a slight? I know we get to Rome later talking about these advantages to his face, but I felt like there was one more thing. But yeah, he was taking some guff here.
Yeah, people are giving the feedback. I think, and then I think Survivor's listening. They've been making changes. We've come so far from the 41 twists that we had, and so this is different.
I will say I remembered. It was when they talked about how they gave up after 10 minutes looking for his advantage. He was like, what?
Yeah, he said, I'm not mad, but I'm going to take notes. And I was like, you should. You really should. Because there's no reason why they had to find that advantage. You were still going to start the challenge. Had nobody got it, you would have just had to ask somebody to sit out. That's pretty much what would have had to happen. But they didn't have to find that advantage. So,
yeah. Very interesting.
Tough week,
so now that means we got our team split. The blue has to go to camp where yellow can go and eat. So, and including Miss Genevieve. So everyone's eating. Teeny lives up to their name. They're so teeny and they down wine like it's nothing. And now Teeny's like, I'm going to need a buddy to tribal. Teeny, you know he's small. You should only have this amount of wine.
Teeny was like, I'm gonna get drunk, and did, and it's easier to get drunk on Survivor probably than any other show because you haven't eaten enough to have any type of base for all that. So watching Teeny getting wine drunk, they were hilarious. I like anytime somebody gets drunk on Survivor though. I don't recommend it. Why would you do that on an empty stomach on a deserted island where you need to have your wits about you?
And all they had was like meats and cheeses. Like it's
literally charcuterie.
A filling meal.
Yeah, this isn't the merge feast, even though this is the merge, but that was not the merge feast.
No, but they all are like, okay, so I guess we're doing Rome. What's the backup? Now, Sam, I got something to say to you because your boyfriend just helped you blindside your enemy, and then you turn your back on him the minute you get around some new peeps.
So here's my problem. I think that Sue throws out Andy as an option. And I think at that point, you have Sam and Sierra thinking, do we throw our neck out on the line and try to offer somebody else up? Or do we just let it go? And I think in that moment, it's probably really hard to be like, put it on somebody else. Because at that point, you're putting on a target on somebody, right? And maybe they didn't want to be the one. Now, I definitely think that this is wild gameplay. Like, this is a number for you, Sam. You fought so hard. Like you said, he just helped you blindside Annika. But it does feel like you're throwing him to the wolves now by not defending him and making him the backup plan. If it's me, I'm thinking, make Saul the backup plan or something like that. Somebody who, people like maybe Rome would believe, would be the target. But making it Andy really does feel like you're cutting off a potential ally and saying, all right, if he goes, he goes. And if he doesn't go, he's going to know that I was okay with him going. And so it's a very interesting spot because I could see why you wouldn't want to stick your neck out. But I also don't understand how
just show you're a little bit uncomfortable with that situation.
Yeah.
Let them sit in it and be like, oh, I guess we should figure something else out.
Are there other options we can work through? Sue, is there anybody on your tribe that maybe you're not feeling comfortable with? Like, because, and again, it made sense for Andy to be the choice because everybody saw Andy's blow up.
Yeah.
Episode 1, everybody saw that. So for them, they're like, so Andy's y'all clearly don't like Andy, right? And they're like, yeah, of course, whatever. Like it's so
that's
easy
the thing
to
is
put
don't play into that because your feelings have changed.
Right.
Give a little bit of like, I don't know about
Rachel. Wait, is Rachel not available? You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
How did it land on Andy? Yeah, I thought that was an interesting choice for sure.
I think for some reason, I mean, these two freaking Sierra and Sam, these two are so obvious about this alliance, but they can't, like, all of a sudden now they're sneaky. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, they're fine letting Andy be the backup option, but to me, it's like you should not be fine with that. So either they've already made inroads elsewhere, maybe they've already assured Rachel that she's really in the Andy spot, so she doesn't have to worry about that. Maybe they feel more comfortable going forward with Rachel, but we didn't see any of that. So
yeah,
be speculating, but yeah, I definitely caught that they threw Andy to the wolves relatively quickly.
So quickly. Back at camp, Rome does what Rome does. he decides he's gonna tell everyone what the plan is. All right, like he calls it planting seeds, but it's not planting seeds if you're also watering, watching the plant grow, picking it. Everyone's gonna notice you're doing a lot of work here, and therefore it's not my move. You want it to other people to feel like it's your move. No, you're just like, oh, did you hear tonight?
That's my favorite one. Yeah. So you heard right about the plan? You heard it was Saul, right? Yeah. What did you think about Rome's emotional plea though to Caroline and Sue? Where he's like, I grew up with a bunch of obstacles. He's tearing up. What'd you think about that?
Look, here's one thing. There's a lot we can say about Rome, but one thing I'll always be for is using a tear on white women.
Throw it back at him.
The way Caroline was like,
you could see her face.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, you could see her face.
Feel that way. Like you would have thought Robert De Niro was on that beach. Give them thoughts. He did well up. I will say that. And like on some level, there has to be a truth to what he said, right? Like it's hard.
Yeah. I've heard you say this before, and Taryn as well on Big Brother, that when people cry and they say they're using it as strategy, the crying might have been real. The I can use this as strategy is always secondary, in my opinion. So like, unless it's somebody like Angela who's looking in the camera going, I need to cry, I need to cry, I need to cry, or Nicole Franzel hyping herself up to cry, then I don't believe it. If you started crying, you cried, those feelings were real. Now, how you're trying to utilize those feelings is different. And I think that he was definitely using his real tears to manipulate Caroline and Sue.
You know what would have been truly the most diabolical, which we don't see him do this, and I'm not saying he did. What truly would have been diabolical is as he was crying, it's like he stalked me on the beach. So I couldn't look for an eye. Like,
yeah,
that would have been the ultimate villain status.
Right. That's why I feel like it was genuine. Like, the lie was, using it is fine. Whatever. This is a game. But the tears were genuine because if they weren't, you could have gone harder. You could have gone harder than just like, I just have so many struggles. I struggle with insecurity about my success and I try really hard, but Saul was mean to me. You really could have been like, nah, I was trying to look for an advantage and Saul found me. Like, you could have laid it on thick if you were just going to lie. So, yeah. Interesting move from Rome for sure.
Very interesting. I have this old trip photo. Oh my gosh. So he went on the trip with Kyle before this.
Yeah, that's the thing. He had already kind of connected with Kyle when they did the first journey. And so I was very shocked to see that that's who he turned against in this episode. This man, nothing's off limits, it seems, in the game.
You burn any inroads? You had an advantage going into the merge, theoretically. Yeah. Okay, one girl, one homie's out. Annika was on that same trip, but Kyle's still there, and you said, burn that bridge to the ground.
Yeah, he must not have felt very secure in his spot.
Consciously or unconsciously, he knew. Yeah. He knew he had to do something, and this was ridiculous. So yeah, he's throwing Saul under the bus. It's hilarious. Everyone around him is like, so we know what the real plan is.
Genevieve said, it was Genevieve, his number one ally in this game to this point. The moment he walked away, she said, so y'all know what the real plan is. Like, so y'all know it's him, right? I said, damn, if you lost Genevieve, what were you going to do anyway?
He lost Genevieve when the minute he spread some false information on her. Because this is now the second time, I guess, really, is that he turns on someone who could have been an ally. He did that with Genevieve, of being like, Genevieve said that she would never work with you, Saul. And she was like, is that what I said? Actually,
I said it, lied. But she said, I said it, but I didn't want him to know. You did throw me under the bus. So he went into this episode having burned Teeny already, having burned Saul already, and Genevieve. Where were you going to go? You should have been coming in hoping that anybody, including Kyle, who you already had a relationship with, would take you in, and you could throw the red people under the bus. You could throw Saul, you could throw Genevieve, you could throw Teeny under the bus if you get picked up by everybody else, but he couldn't help himself.
I don't think Saul would have gone next, even if he tried.
No, but I think they could have got Genevieve maybe. She hasn't made any like cross tribal alliances that we know of.
But Genevieve is also Genevieve. Which,
she's
by
good.
the way,
She's good.
I have never seen her outside of Survivor. I don't usually look up these people like that. But does she wear glasses and wear her hair back in a braid as a corporate lawyer? Because I can't help but look at her and be like, you're trying to lower people's defensive with this very nerdy, put together look. But that could just be me being paranoid. What do you think?
Well, no, so I think even if you just base it off of what we've seen on the show, when they finally started letting Genevieve speak, because it was a minute before we got some real content from her, she immediately says, I'm A-type and I'm bossy and I'm mean, and then the confessionals from there have been just like fiery. She's rolling her eyes like, ugh, I can't believe I gotta deal with this. And yeah, he's saying I threw you under the bus, and I did, but damn, you weren't supposed to tell nobody. Like, Genevieve is coming into her own as far as like who she is as a player and probably who she is in real life. So I think if anything, she's probably trying to play nice. She's got this beautiful smile and she's probably grinning at people, but she's cutthroat.
She was like, oh my God, just bopping around as Jeff is like, well, someone has an advantage. She's like, ah. And you would think she's a little girl, but she's towering over everyone in that lineup.
Oh yeah, easily. Like Saul and Rome are about the same height. He's a short king.
I really don't remember Genevieve's performance though in anything. Like, I know she has sat out in challenges sometimes. I'm like, that's very interesting that you're sitting out your tallest person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Asia's pretty strong. That's the first time I said her name. But yeah, it's pretty strong. But then they cut her. And then they have Kashawn, Rome, Teenie, and Genevieve left. And I think at that point, Genevieve sits out and tries to get an advantage on the sit-out bench. And then Genevieve's in the next challenge. And so, I don't think we really got to see a lot of her strengths because she does sit out that one challenge. But yeah, looking at them right now. Kyle is the tallest person, and then Genevieve.
Yep.
Well, Sam does go to Saul and say, I'd rather keep you than Andy. He's like, me and Andy were close, but Rome wants you out. I'm good with keeping you, which again is interesting considering Sam does have such a close alliance with Andy. They're not turning on Andy completely, but they are making Andy the backup vote. If Rome pulls a shot in the dark, plays an idol, then this does ricochet on Andy.
I don't like how they're doing my bisexual because like, oh, you found this new buff guy with pearly whites, the most perfect smile.
Perfect smile.
Now it's forget my Mr. Bob.
Look,
that Bob is looking good.
Baby Andy out here cooking, but he is in danger. Baby Andy, you're in danger. You are in danger. You need to look up because your allies are not your allies the way you think they are. But yes, so Rome is pushing the Saul vote around the island. But Andy is the real backup vote.
Yeah. Let's get to this tribal. Now,
Woo!
Rome is acting like a mafioso. Because did you catch how he started this off to send a message to the other castaways?
Oh no! What happened?
Jeff does what he usually do. What's happened at camp today? Rome said, well, when we're thinking about this vote, people don't want to ruffle feathers. So if you hear a plan, go with it. That's what he said.
If you hear a plan, just go with it. And it's so funny to me because he was the only one we saw passing a plan around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Go with my plan or else. And it's like, what's the or else?
It's not a threat, Nicole. It's an ultimatum.
I like he's still trying it. But before we get to that moment, Kyle brings up having to spend the day clearing up some BS because Kyle's still on that time.
Yeah, he gonna make sure Rome is buried here. He doesn't have a vote, but he's got to make sure that, okay, in spirit, we getting Rome out.
Exactly. And Rome's still confident. Rome talks down on the whole amulet advantage. I was like, what's going on here? Jeff is like, oh, you want my seat?
Yeah, I couldn't tell how Jeff and the tribe were actually reacting to it. Because in the moment, it does look like they're genuinely happy for Rome to be having the moment. He tears up a little bit. He says this is his dream of his lifetime. Jeff has his job. But also from what we know about Jeff, this is not something that I thought Jeff would ever let fly. So it's kind of like, I don't know if Jeff is aware what's about to come for Rome.
He absolutely does. This evil man.
He's like, have your moment. Yeah.
Who made Rachel give up any little rice that she pocketed.
Mm-hmm.
was definitely like, this man is on the chopping block and he doesn't even know it. Come sit in my seat. Feel comfy. Tell me how to do my job.
Do you think Jeff is more complicit in the wrong blind side as well? Because get comfy is definitely something you tell somebody to keep them from playing that shot in the dark, you know?
But he's also very playful. Like he's been playful with the castaways. So I don't think he was trying to play into the game, but also everything does affect the game. So
yeah.
Whether he intended to or not, it could be, but missed himself thinking, oh, I'm running this by running to every single person and telling them a plan and stuff like that. That ain't Jeff's fault. That ain't Jeff's fault. No one asked him to do all that.
Had Jeff reacted different, like had Jeff said, oh, you think you can do my job better than me? And then said, Saul, what do you think about that? Saul says, this is how Rome is. Rome acts like this. He's a jerk, blah, blah. You might get some people piling on. And maybe Rome does say, damn, maybe I should be playing my shot in the dark. But Jeff does the opposite. He says, no, you good. Come sit in my seat. Tell me about my advantage. Tell me why it sucks. And then Rome is sitting there all comfortable. He's tearing up. Oh, man, I had a great moment, blah, blah, blah. And the whole time I was like, Jeff, are you in on this? Are you in on the caper?
The thing is, everything that Rome is saying is about how the amulets used to work. This time, it's a little bit different from how I think Sabaya or maybe Couture explained to me. And it's like, yeah, you don't really, it's not to promote them going after each other. It's to work together. So even then I was like, I think he's setting him up for the Okido because he knows this year it has changed. And then we see it played how it was meant to be played later. So that's even kind of another like feather in Jeff's cap. You didn't look for my advantage, but look at these three working together.
Right. And then it's like, Rome, you've been talking to Caroline, because we saw him crying to Caroline and Sue. So I'm assuming he thinks at the very least Caroline and Sue are voting with him. He's had a relationship with Teenie. Maybe they might be voting with him as well. But then you see Caroline and Sue come together. Caroline and Teenie, come together and play this amulet for Teenie. Rome, this is your smoking gun. These people just protected Teenie for no reason. Nobody thinks Teenie's getting the vote. You know that the vote is either Saul or Andy. I don't even think he knows about the Andy. So I think he thinks the vote is Saul. Why are they protecting Teenie to burn this vote? If anything, I'm like, hey, Caroline, if I think it's me, play it on me. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't do that. And we will see the results.
We see the results being 2 on Andy, 1 on Sam. They're confused. This humbles both of them because remember, Sam was ready to turn on Andy. And now look at both of you.
Yeah. Andy looked directly at Sam in the face and said, am I the backup plan? And Sam says, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? You don't know.
You don't know.
You don't
I've
know.
been playing with you for a second.
Yeah.
And you don't know all of a sudden?
There's no way Sam gets away with this. There's no way Sam gets away with this. Andy's going back. He's asking questions. And if I'm Rachel, I'm like, yep, it was you. You were the backup plan. Sam told me he was the one who gave me the vote. Sorry. You know, this is the sloppiest thing I think Sam has done thus far. I don't like it. I think if nothing else, you tell Andy. I know Andy's proven to be a somewhat of a loose cannon, but maybe even try to tie up the vote on somebody else. Right. Maybe try to throw somebody else under the bus. At least tell Rome we all voted for Saul. You know, like Rome goes in voting for Saul because he knows Saul is going, but he flips his vote to Sam. Sam, if this could have been you really need to get on the same page as your ally. I didn't like this. I thought this was the sloppiest move from Sam. This is the first real criticism I've had for him in the game, just as far as like strategy wise, because it just doesn't make sense for me.
Criticizing him.
No,
I've been thinking Andy has been outplaying him since he latched on to that man.
Nicole, what did you think about the voting confessionals? Because there's almost zero suspense.
Zero, but it's because they know, I think, how they edited this. And to be fair, some of this is still just on how the castaways play this game. And they were like, you know what's going to happen? It's like those movies. It's like, let's go Marvel. It's like a Marvel movie. You know what's going to happen, who's going to win, but you still want to watch how it goes down.
Yeah.
And they took their time because we got multiple quotes. Now, Sam says, your game wasn't built in a day, but it will fall in one. I think we all came up with this for the time Rome gets out. So
yeah,
okay.
low hanging fruit, Sam. You tried.
Teeny says, I think everyone has caught up to the way that I feel about you. Teeny, you're the part of the reason.
Teeny. We could have been done with this, man. Episode 3. This is your fault.
I don't want to hear from you, Teeny.
Don't want to hear it. This is your fault. You were complicit.
You were absolutely complicit. You saw that man's advantage. You sold that man out. You still wanted to work with him over the person you've never betrayed. And some reason, Rome was actually still willing to work with you. But then Rome is Rome.
Rome is Rome. Yeah.
So everyone got bit trying to play the Rome game, except for Saul. Saul's like, I'm the innocent in this. I am the innocent who has been stressed out since day one because of this man. I don't think we actually get Saul saying anything, which is wild. But I think he's just like, let me just smile and enjoy this.
They probably couldn't show what Saul said. And quite frankly, Saul's smile was the biggest that we've seen this season. He looked so happy to see this Rome blindside. And when I said I could not be happier for Saul because they took out my girl. They took out Asia, episode 3, to save Rome. We watched Kashan immediately bite the bullet for that, just immediately get struck down because of that. And now we're seeing that Rome is going to go meet Asia at Ponderosa as well. And so Asia was robbed, and she was also right. She was correct. It was a bad strategic move to vote her out and go with Rome. But also socially, if y'all didn't like the man, why y'all want to play with him so bad? You let that little advantage spook you. And now look at you. Done. Everybody's down in the numbers at red. Teeny, Saul, and Genevieve basically don't have any alliance between the 3 of them because all of them tried to work with Rome at one time or another and got bit. And so, here you are. So justice for Asia. I will stand until I can't stand no more.
Yeah, justice for Asia. I will say with Teeny, Andy, and Caroline agreeing on using the amulet on Teeny, I was like, this must have been the trade-off because I have been asking ever since they went on that trip, Caroline, what did you say to make a good argument of you going back with your vote over Teeny, who went to tribal that night? Was it that the first time we get back together, we're just immediately playing on you so you can make merge? That would be, would you take that deal? Like, okay, Teeny, if you're saying you're like 90% sure you're not going home tonight, how about we take our votes back and the minute we get back together in the merge and we can play this, it'll be you and you for sure make the merge.
No, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point because there was no, because that at least saves Teeny. And gives her some reassurance for them some reassurance for being able to sacrifice their vote back then. So I totally could see that.
Yeah. We got to the end of the episode, and that means what is our beautiful black moment of this episode?
Did you have a standout beautiful black moment of this episode? Because
I do, because I knew this is coming up, so I'm like, let me find it. Let me find it.
Get tough out here, man. Okay, what's up?
I'm putting Tiana down. Tiana saying don't you ever put my name out because she was the third quote right there. And I was like, that's right, Tiana, because he already started on you.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good one. Tiana, I think we're down to Tiana and Gabe as our representation now moving forward. So I saw a tweet earlier that and I'm glad we're bringing this up right now. Let me find it.
How do you keep coming up?
I saw a tweet earlier. Okay, hear me out. And the tweet said something to the effect of not they got rid of all the black people out of the game, right?
And now Gabe said something.
Gabe responded with the upside down smiley face. And I was like, he is Brian. He is brown skinned.
You know what Survivor and CBS need to do?
Tell us.
They need to do what Netflix does.
Oh, yes.
Every single Love is Blind, they'll be like, here's the blacks. On strong black lead Twitter. They will put them right there for you. And even if it's like, oh, I wouldn't know. Now you know. Now you know.
Ooh, I don't know. We'll see.
Sorry, Gabe, have you been listening to this?
Oh my God. This is dicey. But we have the split tribal council coming up. In every season on Survivor, they split the tribe in halves.
Yeah, they do.
And every season of Survivor, we lose our black folks at this point in the game. I'm looking at Tiana. I'm looking at Gabe. If they don't make it, we might need to do it again. If they make it through the split tribal council, something might be up, because we normally don't make it through that bad boy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and somebody, I think I was talking to Rob about it, and I saw people in the comments like, "Here y'all go bringing up race again," and I was like, "No, pull up the chart." And I think every season but one, we've lost 2 black people. Not one, but
about
2.
This. I wrote a whole article about it last time. Yes, like
so we should be concerned now about Tiana and Gabe, to be very clear.
Honestly, I have been concerned about
Tiana.
No, I think I'm delusional, and I can own up to that. I'm delusional with Tiana. I'm in love with her. So for me, I'm just like, gorgeous. She's doing great. She's doing great. When Stu says something, I'm like, Sue, what's your problem? And then you just reminded me. Remember when she
remember when she did that thing?
Yeah. I'm like, no, she's perfect. What are you talking about?
I spent the first 3 episodes of this season telling everybody that Asia won. So as far as I'm concerned, you cannot talk to me about delusion, baby. I live there. It's my city. Andy lives in Blindside City. I live in Delusion City. Population me and you. And Tiana's gonna have to hold the torch for us. And Gabe, grab the torch too until further notice, you know?
Yeah. Well, we have to move off of this and talk about our chaotic buy moment.
It's got to be Andy. Is Andy just like running the board on this moment through the season?
I mean, last season I did Kenzie, and a lot of it was just her last looks at Tribal.
Yeah, but last week, Andy in that saw, that knife.
I mean, I had to call it immediately.
You had to. That, like, it was like, well, there it is. What is Andy's moment this episode? Is it just is it laughing at the Annika blindside in front of everybody at Tribal Council? Because that was wild.
That was wild. I will admit, he was running high on that, and I'm like, calm it down a little.
He said, that was great.
But my chaotic buy moment is actually another voting quote that we saw, because if you remember, Andy started speaking German.
Chaotic bilingual.
He said, Wiedersehen, or Wiedersehen, however they say, my friend.
In his Heidi Klum bag. Yeah.
I'm like, in German, that's diabolical.
Right.
Like, Germany, I don't think existed during Rome. I'm like, is this a historical context that I'm missing? Like,
he said, Black bilingual reality. Black bilingual, okay? The chaotic bilingual moment of the season.
Wow. I was like, Wiedersehen.
Yeah,
that's 4 lines that they had of people saying something about Rome.
Yeah, give it to baby Andy. He cooked again. You know, I'm very proud of him. Like I said, I know him. I obviously know Asia. I'm rooting for them both. I got to meet a lot of the cast in New York last week. They all seem very nice. Everybody I talked to, and so, you know, not rooting against anybody anymore. And so, you know, we're just gonna see what happens. But yeah, shout out to Asia and her karma. I haven't got to say it enough on this podcast, but I love her. I'm delusional. She should have won, and she was robbed. And this was a strategic error for everybody not named Genevieve.
Absolutely, it was. So, shout out to Asia, and shout out to the rest of the Blacks.
Especially you, Gabe, damn it. We have not forgot about you, King.
No, King. We got you.
We got you.
Where can people follow you, Chappell?
I don't know, but thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. I like my face hurts from laughing. Follow me on Twitter, all social media platforms at Recap Kickback, and make sure you check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/recap Kickback. Mari and I are doing the Black Entertainment Moments of the Week every week. We're also recapping different shows, different movies. We talked about our horror movie of the month for spooky season. We did Mr. Crockett, and we had Kay from the Big Brother Streets, our favorite content creator, Kayla Fro, on as our special guest for the first time, and we will see much more of Kayla Fro on Recap Kickback. I had the pleasure of meeting her this week as well. So yeah, come join us for all the good stuff over there. Abbott Elementary coverage with me and Gia. Abbott Elementary, the zombie verse over there with the Walking Dead podcast, and much more on Recap Kickback. And follow me on all social media platforms to keep up with all of that and more.
Nice. And again, I'm your host, Nicole Weaver. I'm writing over at Collider, which I will have a link to my articles below. Right now, we are going to have one more recap for The Love is Blind season 7. Actually, that's not true. We have the finale, and then we're also going to come back to recap the reunion. You will be seeing Chappell's reactions. He has not seen a single episode. I am just that good at recapping.
Yeah. Chappell reacts to Nicole should be a whole series because it was a good time. Check it out, please. It was fun.
Yes. And we're still, of course, finishing Survivor. I mean, I'm trying to get some more Big Brother 26 interviews. We'll see. And that is about it. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you are on the podcast apps, we're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Please rate the podcast, review 5 stars, and that's it. Bye. Stay visible, my friends. And